How's it going, guys? My name is Valued, and today we have a very exciting topic for you guys, and that is controller movement. This is one of the most important things to learn as a controller player, so grab your pen and get ready to take some notes because we're hopping right into it. Alright guys, I know you want to wall jump straight into the crazy movement text and start learning them, but before we can do that, we have to go over some settings that will help with all the techniques we're about to touch on. Controllers with paddles like scuffs can help a lot with movement. However, you can still do all the flashy movement with just a standard controller. First, let's talk about layouts. For normal controllers, you're going to want to look at the button layout button puncher. This allows for easier slide and crouching due to the crouch being on your right analog stick. And for paddle controllers, default or customizable is fine, but putting the jump and crouch button on one of the back paddles is the most optimal. Putting your crouch setting on hold instead of toggle is also going to be beneficial for you. Now, keep in mind this will take getting used to if you've used toggle for a while, but in the long run, it's going to be way more consistent. Another important thing to remember is that you don't need your sensitivity to be at 7.6 to be a fast movement player like your favorite streamers. Because you need to keep in mind you have to be able to kill people as well, so we wouldn't recommend raising your sensitivity purely for movement. And if you're not sure about what sensitivity you should run, be sure to check out our controller settings guide. It may help you understand what settings do what and why you may want to change certain settings. Anyway, the last setting we're going to look at in this video is the menu cursor speed. Now, this isn't a direct movement setting, however, it allows for quicker death box looting, and you're going to see why that's important later on. And keep in mind guys, all of the following movement mechanics can be done on 3 or 4 non-ADS sense relatively easily, so sensitivity really should not be a factor for you. Now that we've talked about a few of the settings, let's get right into the movement tech. With so many cool movement techs to talk about, we want to start with the fundamentals of quicker movement with a technique you've seen in game hundreds of times, and that is the slide jump. Whether you want to speed up your travel around the map or quickly get a peek on someone, this is the most basic way of doing so. You do this by sprinting and then pressing and holding the crouch button, which will perform a slide. After sliding for a second or so, perform a jump and soar through the air for a short time with a speed boost. So on your controller, you're going to be pushing your left analog stick in and forward to activate your sprint. After a second, press in the right analog stick in and you're going to start to slide. Let the slide continue for about a second or so and press A to jump out of the slide. When you land, continue sprinting and there you have it. This technique is repeatable and even allows for no audio movement for the short time you're in the air. On top of that, it's useful to do when you need to heal. Slide jumping and then popping the healing item will allow you to keep a little bit of movement speed during the start of whatever heal you're going to use. Now, if you're rushing the movement, the game can punish you with a dead slide. You're going to notice this by not getting much of a boost after you jump. This normally just means you hit the slide a little bit too soon after beginning sprinting, or you didn't hold the slide long enough to get the full jump boost. Practicing this and getting the timing down is going to set you up for success because this will open up the door to the world of movement for you. The first thing that is set up easily with this is B-hopping. Bunny hopping, better known as B-hopping, was super popular early on in Apex, but has seen nerfs to make it a little bit more difficult to perform in some situations. B-hopping is essentially just repeating a jump over and over using the momentum to maintain your speed. On controller, it's done mostly by slide jumping, and once you land, you crouch to re-enter the slide, but instead of sliding out of it, you jump as soon as you touch the ground. Repeating this while looking and moving to the left and right in about a 30-degree cone is going to maintain speed and allow you to B-hop for a long time. To get the hang of this, go into the firing range and on flat ground, perform the slide jump and practice the timing of your B-hop in a straight line only. Without looking and moving, you will lose momentum, but it's still good practice. And once you have the B-hop down in a straight line, then throw in some zigzag movement. This is done by B-hopping, like we talked about before, but you're going to hold the momentum by pulling your left analog stick to the left or right, and at the same time aiming your right analog stick to the same side. This technique is very beneficial when healing or while being shot at from behind and you need to get around a corner quickly. You may struggle initially, and that's okay. If you are losing momentum immediately, then you probably need to speed up your jumps or slow them down. If you start healing while you're B-hopping though, just keep in mind you guys, you maybe get 2 to 3 B-hops before you start to lose your momentum. This is good for getting that slightly quicker heal before going behind cover while still maintaining speed. B-hopping is a great tool to use to be evasive, mobile, and it just looks awesome. And before we move on to the next tip, guys, if you guys still need more help mastering the advanced movement in Apex Legends, then there's no faster way to learn than from the amazing coaches on ProGuides.com. Be sure to check them out. The link will be in the description below. Alright guys, we've all seen this next tech in one of your favorite streamers' montages, or maybe even in-game from one of those kunai flipping Wraith mains. Even though it looks flashy and cool to anyone who watches you do one, it's not really that difficult to perform. The first way we're going to teach you this is starting with a simple slide jump. So you want to find a nice flat wall with plenty of height to practice with. There are a few good ones in the firing range that we would recommend for this. To start, sprint towards the wall at about a 45-degree angle and slide jump towards it. Practice the distance you need for this to end up with you slapping the wall and bracing your hands. The distance for this is important to get down because once you leave the ground from your slide, you have a set trajectory in the air. You want to land on the wall within the upward motion of the jump, not on the downward motion. This provides you with a good bounce and holds momentum better. Once you feel confident in your spacing, it's time to add the jump. Do this by slide jumping, and once you touch the wall with your hands, remove your finger off the left analog stick and press A. After you leave the wall, move your left analog stick away from it. You don't have to move your crosshair to do this, but once you're used to doing it, you should start doing that. Lots of people find an issue with jumping off the wall and instead just slap it and fall to the dirt below. We find removing all movement from the left analog stick at the moment of contact really helps secure the hands bracing on the wall. If you aren't getting a good bounce off the wall, you need to make sure you're getting enough momentum out of your slide before leaving the ground. But guys, if you get all these things down, this is a really reliable way to do wall jumps, but it isn't the only way. You can actually just walk towards a wall, jump on it, and once you contact it, you can just jump again. This will perform a more horizontal wall jump. This one is good when paired with a backward slide and B-hop, as it's very hard to hit when performed well in a fight. This does require you to look towards the wall for a split second while jumping, so it is a bit riskier to do and is no replacement for good positioning in a fight. But you guys can catch enemies off guard for sure. This technique has a lot of applications even off jump pads. If you find yourself jump padding towards a large flat wall, try to hit it at about a 45-degree angle and perform a wall climb. With the speed from the pad, you'll kind of glide across the surface horizontally while climbing. Holding this for about a second, the jumping will carry a lot of momentum through the air. This is a great tactic that looks amazing when performed well and can even help avoid damage from enemies. And once you guys get this technique mastered, the world of Apex looks completely different to you. Everything is wall jumpable if you're good enough. But now that we touched on this, it's time for something that can help you deal with fights near ziplines. Ziplines are scattered across all of the maps in Apex Legends, and they help you get to tall or far away places quicker than just walking. But that's not all they're useful for. If you find yourself fighting near a vertical zipline, then you can use it to your advantage. If you interact with the zipline and then jump very quickly, you'll find yourself launched in the air in whatever direction you were moving. This is good for closing distance on a target and can be paired with even more movements. Apex allows people to jump off a zipline and reattach a total of 3 times. This means you can pair this with a 180-degree turn and turn quickly on a target with speed. By holding the interact button while doing this, it makes it very easy to master after you get your turn timing down. To practice this, we recommend using the vertical zipline to the right of the snipers in the firing range. Run to the zipline and jump onto it with A, while holding your X button to grab a hold of the zip. Immediately press A again to jump off, but don't let go of X. While jumping, do a 180-degree turn and reattach to the zipline. This is repeatable and hard to hit when done correctly. Alright guys, when it comes to horizontal ziplines, the story remains similar, but a little different. If you're taking the zipline and start getting shot at, then you can perform a zip bounce a max of 3 times. To do this, you simply jump off the zipline, press X, which will reattach you, and then you can just press A again. This should launch you a little higher and stop more of your speed. But you guys have to be careful not to overdo the amount, as you will just fall through the zipline after a 3rd time. This is hard to hit when shooting at someone doing this, and also normally buys you enough time to force them out of ammo and get away. Something else fun you can do is a super jump off a zipline. This is done by sprinting at a zipline, and the moment you attach, jump up and look where you want to go. This has amazing potential for changing elevations quickly on your enemies. And lucky for you guys, the firing range has both examples of ziplines, so you can spend all the time you need in there getting used to these mechanics. Once you guys get all these down, you're likely going to want to go fight people with your new tricks. And since you now understand movement, you'll be getting more kills, and with more kills comes more death boxes surrounding you. And for that, we have some amazing strats to make it harder to get hit while looting on controller. Alright guys, so one of the clear differences between keyboard and mouse gaming and controller gaming on Apex is the death box interactions. Where PC players get to jiggle and jump to their liking while looting, controller players don't have that luxury. This doesn't mean you can't do anything though. You actually have the ability to loot while jumping or sprinting. However, you can't change the action you're doing mid-death box animation. The way you do this is to start looting the death box, and as the little circle fills in, you jump or start sprinting before it opens the menu fully. This is where a fast menu cursor speed will help you get that quick armor swap while moving. The timing of this is very hard to get, but once you do, it can be a lifesaver. Alright legends, listen up. No matter who you are or what your goals are in Apex, we all want to get better. And thinking about all these factors when it comes time to move around the map is going to help you get in and out of your fights much faster. So don't get disheartened if you don't pick up the movement text right away. You can do it. All it takes is you, the firing range, and a quick rewatch of this video. We'll be back with a more advanced guide with tap strafing, launchpad mechanics, and so much more, so stay tuned. Anyway, guys, my name is Valued. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll see all of you guys in the next one. Peace.